Today, we will learn two very important money market instruments that are known as Certificate of Deposit or CD and Commercial Paper or CP. Apart from knowing these, Apart from knowing what these money market instruments are, we will also try to understand how those markets to which such instruments belong function. Right? First of all, let's gain some insight on when and why certificate of deposit and commercial paper were introduced in the India's money market. When we look at past, we come to know that it was during early 90s that the financial institutions and corporate entities were for the first time ever allowed to sell short-term financial claims using these two types of instruments in the money market. Before this, there was no practice of issuing negotiable fixed deposits either by banks or by corporate entities in the money market. The certificate of deposit and the commercial paper essentially represents negotiable promissory notes or negotiable promissory note type of instruments. The certificate of deposit can be issued by a bank or a financial institution, whereas the commercial paper can only be issued by a corporate entity. As far as investing in such instruments is concerned, there is no such restriction on who can invest or trade in them, as is particularly on their issue. Right? Hence, anybody can literally invest in certificate of deposit and commercial papers. These two money market instruments were basically introduced during early 90s in Indian money market to widen the range of money market instruments so as to offer greater flexibility to the investors to invest their short-term savings and also to help issuers or those firms that sell these instruments to raise funds from sources other than their traditional modes, right? For example, prior to introduction of certificate of deposit, the sole principal source of funds for banks in India had been the deposit liabilities only, right? And similarly, sole principal source of short-term funds in case of corporate entities had been the bank loans only, right? Now let's understand the basic meaning of a certificate of deposit. From this definition, we learn that the certificate of deposit is a negotiable money market instrument that's issued in the form of a promissory note by a bank or other eligible financial institution for a specified period of time. Using this argument, let's pick out the features of a certificate of deposit. This statement tells us that the certificate of deposit is a negotiable promissory note. That is, an investor, after buying it from a bank, can exchange it in the market with other investors for a value or price. Further, from this statement, we also come to know that the certificate of deposit bears a specified maturity. That's it clearly mentions to the buyer or the investor when it's going to mature in the future. Next, we examine definition of the commercial paper. From this statement, we learn that the commercial paper or CP is a negotiable unsecured money market instrument with a fixed maturity issued in the form of a promissory note by a highly rated corporate entity. After going through this definition, and when we compare it with the previous definition of certificate of deposit, we do not notice much difference between a commercial paper and a certificate of deposit, other than that the commercial paper can be issued by a corporate entity only. Banks are not allowed to issue commercial papers. Similarly, corporate entities are not allowed to, issue certificate of deposit, right? So both of these instruments have their unique, issuers, right? And they cannot be issued by anybody else than those issuers for which these instruments have been specified by the law to be issued, right? We will, in the later part of this discussion, try to analyze if there are any major, if there are any major points of distinction between a certificate of deposit and a commercial paper. For now, they seem to be very much similar or identical in many ways, right? Now let's take you through the form or description of a CD and CP. This is how these two financial contracts representing the certificate of deposit and the commercial paper look like. The first template shows you the specimen of a certificate of deposit. And the second one depicts the format of a commercial paper. The contents of these instruments, if you look at them, reveal that both of these instruments are just the promissory notes, right? However, you must note that none of these instruments, that is neither the CD, or you must not have this notion that since they are being shown to you as a template or as a written document, okay, you must not have a notion that these instruments are traded in that format, right? Okay. Now, you must note that none of these instruments, that's neither the CD and nor the CP, are now preferred to be held or traded in scrip or document form. Both of them are nowadays traded in electronic form or dematerialized form. Okay. However, there's a provision if an investor wishes, then he can have a CD or a CP issued to him in paper or script form as well, right? But generally, they are held and traded by the people or the parties in the money markets in electronic or scriptless form, right? One more point to note about these instruments is that they are offered and sold by their issuers to the investors at a discount to the face value of these instruments. So these instruments are sold in the market just like the treasury bills are sold by the governments in the money markets, because treasury bills are also not sold on the face value. They are sold on a discount to the face value. In the same manner, these two instruments are also, you know, meant or also sold by the issuers in the money market at a discount to the face value, right? In this slide we look at the issuers or sellers that can offer certificate of deposit and commercial paper in the money market. Going through what is seen on the screen, we can easily figure out that only commercial banks and some financial institutions are authorized to offer certificate of deposit in the money market, while it's only highly rated corporate entities or primary dealers that are allowed to issue commercial papers in the money market. Now, as far as who can invest in certificate of deposit and commercial paper is concerned, we observe that the list of participant investors for these two instruments is almost very similar. As a whole, individuals like anybody, retail investors, corporates, banks, funds, non-resident Indians are eligible to invest or trade in these two type of money market instruments. Now let's understand the issue size or minimum investment that can be made in CD and CP. As far as this aspect of CD and CP is concerned, we can note easily that from the contents of what's shown in the slide in front of you, we can note easily that there is a slight difference, okay, between the issue size of these two money market instruments, right? The minimum size of CD has been set at rupees 1 lakh, while as the minimum size for CP is rupees 5 lakh. That means the issuers that offer these two type of money market instruments will have to issue these instruments in these denominations to the investors in the market whenever they want them to be issued or to be sold, or whenever they want them to be used for raising finance, short-term finance in the money market, right? The maturity for which issuers can choose to issue these instruments is similar across both CD and CP. There isn't any difference. Both of these money market instruments can be issued with a maturity ranging from a minimum of 7 days to a maximum of 1 year. However, maturity period of CP should not exceed the date up to which credit rating of the issuing company may be valid. Okay, that makes that brings another aspect, another requirement in case of CPs. Okay, so a company that doesn't have a valid rating will not be allowed to issue CPs in the market. So issuing CP basically requires an issuing company to have a valid rating. Okay. Also, in certain exceptional case, some financial institutions are allowed to issue CD with a maturity of minimum 1 year and maximum up to 3 years, right? But in general, CDs can be issued by banks and other financial institutions always for a maturity under or below 1 years of time. Am I clear? Same is the case when we talk about a commercial paper that is to be issued or that can be issued by a corporate entity, right? Now a question arises, and that is, can all corporates be automatically eligible to issue CP? The answer is obviously no. A corporate entity would be eligible to issue CP provided these three conditions, provided that the corporate entity meets all these three conditions. Now, what are these three conditions? The first condition is that the tangible net worth of the company, as per the latest audited balance sheet, should not be less than 4 crore rupees. The second condition is that the CP issuing company should have been sanctioned a working capital limit by a bank or a financial institution. And the third condition that is to be fulfilled by a company desirous of issuing CP is that its borrower account should have been classified as a standard asset by the bank or the financial institution from where the issuer has availed such facility. Okay, so you easily understand that when it comes, if it's issuing of CP by a corporate entity in the money market, not all the corporations will have the permission to issue CPs. Okay, only such corporations that fulfill these conditions will be allowed to come to the money markets and then raise funds, short-term funds, by offering CPs there. Now, as far as certificate of deposit, which is the domain of banks, commercial banks, and financial institutions is concerned, there we see there in that case we see no such condition is set. So that means any commercial bank that operates in the money market will be eligible to issue certificate of deposit for raising short-term funds from the money market, right? Now, apart from these three conditions for that are set out for corporations who want to issue CP for raising short-term finance in the money market. Okay, apart from the three conditions that have been mentioned already, a company that wants to raise funds through CP should also have a veiled rating of at least A3 or equivalent grade from any of the SEBI registered credit rating agencies. Right. So a company that wants to issue commercial paper in the money market, right, can do so provided it has a valid rating of at least A3 notch, right? And this rating should have been, obtained from a rating agency which is already recognized or registered with Securities and Exchange Board of India. Am I clear? So that's what's the requirement. Moving on, after understanding various features of CD and CP, let's now shift towards learning the trading and settlement mechanism of these instruments being followed in the markets where they trade. All right. Now, as far as retail investors are concerned, they can trade in their CD or CP instruments on the recognized stock exchanges, provided that the CD or the CP they want to trade in are listed on the stock exchange. Right? In contrast to this, institutions that want to trade in CD and CP prefer to do so over the counter or through bilateral route. Right? In India, there is an association of money market participants called FIMDA. The full form of FIMDA, as you might be knowing, is Fixed Income Money Market and Derivatives Association of India. This institution provides its participants a trade reporting electronic platform known as FTRAC. Now, those institutions that engage into bilateral trades in CD or CP are required to report their trades on this platform. More simply, whenever two parties or two institutions that enter into a buying or selling deal in CP or CD, both of them must report the transaction to the FTRAC, which is the electronic platform for reporting of bilateral trades in CD and CP by the institutions. Okay, and this platform is provided by the FIMDA, right? So any institution or the institutions that enter into the bilateral trades into CD or CP have to report such trades on this platform immediately within 15 minutes of doing such a deal or trade, right? Now, FTRAC later on, what does the FTRAC do later on? Let's try to understand that. FTRAC later on reconciles the such reported transactions and processes them for final payment and settlement through different clearing houses in the market. Now, some of the clearing houses that operate and provide clearing and settlement facilities in case of CD and CP transactions has been mentioned. Okay, so in this slide, you can see the prominent names of the clearing houses like National Securities Clearing Corporation Limited, which is a subsidiary of the National Stock Exchange of India. Then you have Indian Clearing Corporation Limited, and then MCX Stock Exchange Clearing Corporation Limited, right? Which is a subsidiary of the Multi-Commodity Stock Exchange. Okay, these are some of the institutions that function in the money market and offer or provide facilities of clearing and settlement in such deals, in the bilateral deals or any deals that happen in case of CD and CP instruments, right? Now, this diagram that's on your screen shows you how does FTRAC function. Okay, the kind of platform on which bilateral deals in case of CDs and CPs have to be reported by the trading parties. Okay, that platform, FTRAC platform. Let's try to understand how that platform functions. Okay, when we look at this diagram, we can notice at the top there are two parties that might have entered into an over-the-counter deal in CD or CP. Now, what's an over-the-counter deal? An over-the-counter deal is simply a bilateral deal, a deal that mutually happens between two parties, buyer and seller, buying and selling institution in case of CDCP in the money market, right? Once the deal is struck between a seller and the buyer, in the next step, you can figure out or you can find it that both of the parties report the transaction to the FTRAC, right? Later on, FTRAC, which is an automatic platform, matches the transactions. All matched deals are then reported to the clearing houses of the exchanges for settlement. Right? Now, what about unmatched deals? Okay, all unmatched deals, they either need to be modified or matched or simply cancelled and deleted from the FTRAC by the mutual agreement between the parties. Right? For your information, an unmatched deal is any such deal where one party has reported and the other party's report is not found, or else this unmatched deal could also be any such deal where the contents reported the two parties, where the contents of the trade reported by two parties do not match, right? Now, this is how trade transactions in CD and CP are settled in the market, right? There is another schematic diagram which will help you to understand the settlement process applicable for certificate of deposit and commercial paper in the money market. Now, to understand the settlement procedure, we need to go through this entire scheme, right? This diagram explains us settlement procedure for a bond transaction. This is just illustrative. The same procedure could be extended to CD and CP as well, right? If we look at if you look at this diagram that appears on your screen, you can easily note two parties. That is the seller and the buyer. Seller is on the left side, registered seller, and registered buyer is shown on the right side. Now, what does registered seller, registered buyer mean? It means those sellers and buyers that have already contracts with the intermediaries, like depository or the central bank, who will ultimately help them to facilitate the settlement of the transaction, which they might have done previously either in certificate of deposit or commercial paper, right? So there are two parties, a registered seller and a registered buyer, right? Which will be on two ends, okay? You can then note a group of market intermediaries who facilitate the settlement between them, okay? Now, if you look at this diagram that appears on your screen, you can easily note two parties, that's the seller and the buyer. In between these two parties, you can also note a group of market intermediaries who facilitate the settlement between them. Now, question arises, who are these intermediaries? Okay, the answer is that there are two main intermediaries and their agents, right? These two main intermediaries includes a depository and the central bank. Now, what is the role of these intermediaries and their agents in this whole process of settlement? Let's try to grasp that by looking at different steps involved in the process of settlement. Okay, again we will go through the diagram. Okay, if we look at step number 1, we can note that the seller sends delivery instruction slip to his DP. DP is depository, where he might be holding his securities in the electronic format, right? So the seller sends delivery instruction slip, which is just like writing a check to a bank for withdrawing money, right? So here delivery instruction slip is meant to be written by the seller and then sent to the depository for the sake of instructing the depository that a certain number of securities should be transferred and given to another party in the market, right? Am I clear? So at step number 1, you can easily note that the seller sends delivery instruction slip to his DP for transferring of securities from his demat account to the account of the buyer, right? Simultaneously, on the other side, what is buyer supposed to do? Buyer is supposed to pay the value for those securities which he would have agreed to buy in the transaction, right? So buyer simultaneously on the other side initiates RTGS, real-time gross settlement, which would include NEFT, uh, which is obviously an online payment system, right? That operates in India, right? So simultaneously on the other side, buyer initiates RTGS transfer of funds to the seller through his banker, right? So both of them actually initiate what's due on their part, because they have already agreed to do so by virtue of entering into a certain trade in CD or CP in the market, right? Now they are doing the same thing in a market system, in a market mechanism, wherein ultimately the settlement will take place and funds will move on from the uh, buyer to the seller, and the securities will then in lieu of that move on from the seller to the buyer. Am I clear? So I repeat it once again. If you look at step number 1, we can note that the seller sends delivery instruction slip to his DP for transferring of securities for his demat from his demat account to the account of the buyer. Simultaneously, on the other side, buyer initiates RTGS transfer of funds to the seller through his banker. All right. Followed by this, we notes in step third and fourth that the central bank and the depository reconciles the funds payout with bonds pay in and bonds payout with funds pay in with the help of the clearinghouse. Now let me explain this. What does it mean? Funds payout. Okay, there are two legs. One is funds payout and funds pay in, other is securities payout and securities pay in, right? So when the seller writes the delivery instruction slip, that is meant to ensure that bonds or CD, certificate of deposit, or commercial papers lying in his demand account pay out from there and then move to the account of the buyer. That's what means payout and pay in of financial securities. Then on the other side, buyer is supposed to make the payment. So he will write a check or instruct his banker. So upon his instruction, the funds will pay out. Funds will have to pay out from his account, and then a pay-in has to occur in the account of the seller, right? So this has to actually go through a reconciliation. The settlement and clearing agency that operates in this entire scheme will have to ensure that the securities which have been actually sold in the transaction move from the account of the seller and then reach the account of the buyer. Similarly, the funds or the consideration which is supposed to be paid for those securities should essentially be, taken out of the buyer's, bank account and then should be credited into the account of the seller. Okay, so this is what actually means reconciliation of bonds pay, securities pay in and pay out, and funds pay in and pay out, right? So this entire process, this entire activity is, done by the central bank and the depository in consultation with the clearinghouse. Clearinghouse, for that matter, acts as a pivotal agency or acts as a main agency which does this or take care of this entire activity, right? Okay. Then in step number 5th, depository transfers bonds to the buyer's DP account after reconciliation. We see in the step number 5th, depository transfers, financial securities or bonds to the buyer's DP, and the central bank transfers funds to the seller's banker, right? Thereafter, in step 6, intimation of credit of bonds or financial securities, they could be CDs or CPs, in the demat account is sent by the DP, which is depository participant, which is the agent, which is another intermediary that acts as an agent of the depository that operates in the market on behalf of the depository, right? So in step number 6, intimation of credit of bonds or CDs or commercial papers in demat account is sent by the DP to the buyer, and similarly notification of credit of funds in the bank account is sent by the banker of the seller to the seller. Am I clear? This is practically how settlement of CD or CP trades between different parties works in the market, right? Now let's see how CDs are redeemed by the issuers on maturity. Now, as long as a CD or CP is not maturing, okay, it can be traded by the parties in the market. Whether those traded will be through stock exchange or in a bilateral manner, that is a different story. But anyhow, when a CD or CP matures, it will have to be redeemed or it will have to be repaid by its issuer, right? So at that time, it is to be seen who holds the CD, who is the person who is actually owning that particular CD in the market. And then the issuer is liable to make payment to such holder of CD or CP in lieu of, surrendering that CD or CP instrument to the back to the issuer. Am I clear? Now let's try to see how are CDs redeemed by the issuer on maturity. Okay, there is a slightly different procedure as far as redemption of CD and CP is concerned. We'll, examine individually the redemption of CD, the process of redemption of CD, and then the process of redemption of CP. Okay, so first of all, let's see how are CDs redeemed by the issuers on maturity. Okay, if CD is held in physical form, then the holder should present the CD to the issuing bank along with mentioning his choice of mode of payment. That is, whether a holder would like to get redemption of CD by a banker's check or a direct credit to his bank account, right? To redeem CDs that are issued and held in demat form, electronic form, the issuer maintains a redemption account. Okay, CD redemption account. In case CD is held in demat format, then the holder or investor will have to issue a delivery instruction slip, as was explained to you in the previous case, right? He will issue a delivery instruction slip or note to the depository participant for transfer of his CD to the CD redemption account maintained by the issuer, maintained by that company which would have issued the CDs in the market in the first instance, right? Upon receipt of demat credit of CDs in the CD redemption account, the issuer on maturity date would arrange to repay to holders or the transferors by way of issuing a banker's check or some other kind of check, right? Then let's look at how CPs are redeemed, right? The manner of redemption of CP is like CD, but there is a slight difference. However, unlike CD, where issuing banks themselves process the redemptions, in case of CP, okay, CP issuing corporate entity appoints a market intermediary called as issuing and paying agent for the sake of taking care of both sale as well as redemption of CP. Okay, so basically, those corporate entities that issue CPs in the money market, they are not well versed, they are not proficient in understanding various technicalities, how CP, what are the procedures or what are the various formalities that have to be taken care of if when CPs are issued, or else when they are supposed to be redeemed back to the investors in the market. So since they are not proficient in that, they hire the services of a market intermediary for this particular job, and that market intermediary is known as issuing and paying agent. Okay, but since banks, they are very much proficient, they do not need any market intermediary. They take care of all the matters related to issue as well as redemption of certificate of deposit in the money markets by themselves, right? Now, when it comes the issue or redemption of CPs in the money market, okay, as told to you already, the CP issuing company has to hire or has to go into a contract with a market intermediary, which is known as issuing and paying agent, okay, so that this agent or this intermediary takes care of both sale as well as issues related to both sale as well as redemption of CPs. Okay. Hence, in case of CPs, those investors that are holding CPs in the market will approach a designated issuing and paying agent for the sake of redemptions. Okay. So if they are holding CPs in physical format, they have to surrender their CPs to the issuing and paying agent of the CP issuing company, who will arrange the redemption for the CP issuing company, okay, to the investors, right, in the market. Am I clear? Similarly, if CPs are held by the investors in the electronic format, then in that case, investors will have to write instruction slips to the depositories so that their CPs are transferred to the issuing paying agents, and then in lieu of getting back or surrendering back those electronic CDs, the issuing and paying agents could make the payments back to the investors, okay, as a redemption value, right? After going through all this discussion about the certificate of deposit and commercial paper, and also how these instruments work or trade in the money markets, let's summarize the similarities and differences between the two instruments. Okay. Now, if you look at your screen, you can see both the similarities and differences in these two instruments have been actually pointed out, right? Well, first we look at those features that are similar between the certificate of deposit and the commercial paper. As you can see in the list, both of these instruments are similar in terms of being negotiable in nature. Both of them are negotiable instruments, right? And the time period for which they can be issued, both of them bear the same maturity. Both of them can be issued, okay, with the same maturity, restriction by the issuers in the market, right? And then both are similar in terms of issue, right? Both of them can be issued either in script form or scriptless form, either in document form or in electronic form, right? And also the method of trading and settlement in case of both of them is by and large similar. There isn't much difference, right? Okay. And then finally, we also note that the manner in which these instruments are priced in the money markets, that's also similar. Okay. What does that mean? Both of these instruments are, basically to be sold by the issuers at a discount to the face value in the market, right? So that makes us to understand that both of these instruments have a same pricing scheme. There isn't any difference. Now come to the differences between these two instruments. Okay, this list on the screen shows us that these two instruments, that's CD and CP, differ in many ways. For example, minimum denomination of these two instruments is not same. As you saw already that the minimum denomination for CD is 1 lakh rupee, while as the minimum denomination for CP is 5 lakh rupee. Okay, and then multiples of 1 lakh thereafter, right? Then we come across the major difference, and that is the difference in terms of the issuer. Okay, CD can be issued only by the banks and financial institutions, while as CP belongs to the corporate entities, right? CPs are not allowed to be issued by the banks. There is no restriction as far as investment into these instruments by the different market participants is concerned. Okay, banks can invest both in the CDs that are issued by other banks. Similarly, joint stock companies or corporations can also invest in the CPs that are issued by other corporate entities. Okay, am I clear? Right. Thereafter, after pointing out the difference in terms of the issuer, we note some more differences. Like there is buyback option in case of CP. Similarly, CD attracts reserve requirements, whereas CP does not have any such conditions. You might be knowing that banks, whatever liabilities they raise from the markets, they have to keep some portion of those liabilities in the form of reserves with the central bank. Similarly, the liabilities they raise by way of issuing CDs from the markets, on such liabilities also they will have to subscribe to a reserve requirement, regulatory reserve requirement. Okay, no such condition applies to the CPs because reserve requirements are only applicable to the banks only. Am I clear? When it comes raising finance, short-term finance by way of issuance of CPs by the corporate entities, such corporate entities are subject to no such condition of reserve maintenance of reserves, as is the case with the CD issuing commercial banks or financial institutions in the money market, right? So as a whole, CD and CP are similar in many ways, but at the same time, they are also distinctive from each other in many other ways, right? With this, I end my session on understanding of the market for certificate of deposits and commercial paper.